A piece of wood, four wheels, and a turning system has made millions of people happy around the world for the past 65 years. Skateboarding is enjoyed around the world and shared by people of all colors, shapes, and sizes. An article called "The State of the Skateboarding Industry" has stated that in 2009, there are 11.8 million skateboarders around the world, and it is a $4.8 billion industry, and it continues to grow. Today, I'm going to take you over a brief history of skateboarding culture, show you how the skateboard itself has changed throughout the years, and show you where it has gone to today. First, I'm going to take you back to the 1950s, where skateboarding started. There is no direct link to where it started or who started skateboarding, but it is believed to be started by multiple Southern California surfers that wanted to surf when there was no surf, so they put together a piece of wood and some roller skate wheels, and they skated around, and it's shown here. Now we fast forward a couple decades after the decline in skateboarding, and when we get to the 70s, there was another huge spike in skateboarding, and this was due to the Zephyr skate team out of Venice Beach, California, also known to them as Dogtown. This was led by the creative minds of Stacy Peralta, Tony Alva, and Jay Adams, who is pictured right here. They changed the whole skateboarding world because nobody else thought to skate like they did. They were doing moves on these banks and stuff. Normal kids were just riding down the street, and then they even had the mindset to get into pools like this and mimic the moves that surfers were doing in the waves. So it totally changed skateboarding. Then we fast forward a little more into the 80s, and that's when the half pipe was born. Pictured here is Tony Hawk. As you can see, the skateboard has also changed from the 70s. It's a little wider, gave them more balance. What happened? Yeah, so it gave them more balance to air out of these half pipes. Unlike here, you can see he's only getting a little air, but over here he's completely in the air. And then for those that weren't interested in skating back and forth on a half pipe, they took that to the streets, and the skateboard was also changed again and showed here. They were going down rails and stuff like that. So there was a lot of changes going on in the skateboarding world, and for these to be made possible, there would also have to be changes in the skateboard itself. So I'm going to take you through a little bit of the evolution of the skateboard. It started with skateboards like this with just 2.4 piece of wood and metal wheels. Fast forward a little bit, they put clay wheels on them, make it a little bit easier to ride down the streets. But it really changed when urethane wheels were brought about, and that made it easier to grip the walls and such. Like in that last picture when he was riding the pools, it made it more lifelike when you're trying to mimic surfing. And then we go all the way down to the 80s. They made the board a little bit wider to be more stable, and they added a tail and a little bit of concave, which made it able to pop the skateboard. And then brought you to today, the current skateboard. It's a lot more slim, and it's not as wide, and it's a lot lighter, making it easier to pop off the floor. So that brings us to where skateboarding is today. Back then, it was known as a child's hobby. Most people skated into their late teens. Wasn't really a career in skateboarding. But now, there are skateboarding companies all around the world that sponsor these skateboarders and make it make skateboarding possible career for these people. Such as this professional skateboarder right here, Chris Cole. Kids look up to these skateboarders now. They play these video games with all these professional skateboarders in them, such as Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I'm sure you've all heard of, or the Skate Trilogy. And I also heard on a radio talk show a few years back that skateboarding is growing around the world with these kids, and it's also more popular than Little League Baseball right now. So it's crazy to see how skateboarding has evolved from where it used to be. And it's also not evolved in that way, but with contests that are held around the world. As seen here, this is Chris Cole in the Street League Skateboard Contest, which is the biggest contest circuit right now. They hold 4 different contests throughout the world. Each stop, the first place prize is $100,000, and the 4th stop, which is known as the Super Crown, is $200,000. Sorry, and you also win this trophy and this $25,000 watch and a championship ring. So it's pretty crazy to see how intense skateboarding has become. And then I'll also show you a little clip of Chris Cole at the Super Crown. So that's just a brief example of what happens at these contests and such. Talking about contests, there's also speak of skateboarding becoming a sport in the 2020 Olympics. Tony Hawk has been a big contributor to pushing this into the Olympics. They said that this is not only a great opportunity for our sport and the skaters, but also for the games. It is now more important than ever to preserve the unique culture of skateboarding, which makes our sport so appealing and relevant. So I've taken you through a brief pass of the history of skateboarding, show you how the skateboard has evolved over time and where it is now, and hoping to push the future of skateboarding and pave the way for other skateboarders alike.
All right, Trevor, what did you think?
I thought that he chose a really good topic, kept me interested in it. As far as the topic goes, I feel like he was really passionate about it, something he cares about. And he never once didn't know what he was talking about. I feel like he knew all the information, didn't read it very much, which was good. The visuals, is that any other example? It could be, trying to word it. He could have had too much, but I think that he explained everything really well, and I think that there wasn't too many visuals because the video was good. It explained the contest and everything, and all the history of the board. That was really cool. One thing I didn't like was he said a lot as far as grammar goes. But that is about it. Good.
All right. Well, I like the visualization that you had of the object at the start as kind of your attention device, and then the reveal of the topic. I don't know that anybody in here was surprised about the topic. I think that you did a nice job giving us a justification for why you're talking about it, the growing sport, the number of people who are involved, the prize money that's the amount of money that gets spent on those kinds of things. I thought that was pretty good. I think your purpose statement was buried somewhere in here. It wasn't as specific as it should be, but you had an excellent preview of what the structure was going to be, so it was very easy to follow along. Your supporting material, I think you do need to sometimes cite some of the sources. I got a vague reference to a radio show that you heard one time, and there was one reference early on to a publication, but other than that, it felt a little bit thin, so I think you want to be more consistent about that. Your explanations were fine for the most part. I said it was well organized, it's chronological with a topical element to it. The thing I liked best about the organization were the transitions. I thought you had really good transitions when you were moving from one point to another that made it feel like there's a reason, that we're moving to this next point. I especially liked the one when you talked about the change in the change in styles, required changes in the boards, that kind of thing. I thought that worked really well. The visual materials, they're okay. I think the first slide's a little overloaded. You got 4 images on it. Maybe do those on separate slides so that we're only talking about one thing at a time. Plus, we'll be able to see some of the things that you're emphasizing in the image. I mean, that black and white image of the kids who originally put together skateboards, it's a little, I didn't even see a skateboard in that image. I'm sure there was one. It was just hard to see in that situation. And then the other ones were fine. They illustrated the point that you were talking about pretty well. The evolution of the board thing, that looks like somebody's poster. I think that's a pretty clever way of getting some information in there. Probably could talk a little bit more about how some of those innovations made a change. I think you did a good job when you talked about the size and the height of the board. I think, for example, the wheels and maybe how all the trucks work and all that kind of stuff would add a little bit more to it. And if you could connect it, of course, to either a visual image or even a video clip of the difference in styles that might have existed in skateboarding back in the 50s, the 70s, and more contemporary stuff, I think that would have helped illustrate that point a little bit more. That's maybe a little complicated. I'm gonna disagree with Trevor a little bit. Also, I think we know that you are interested in this topic, but I think you're cruising on a lot of vapors here based on that, because your delivery is really low key. I know it's early in the morning. It's not that early, it's just before 10. And you're talking about a subject that we know that you're passionate about, and you sound a little tired. It's like you're going through the motions sort of thing. And I thought you knew the information really well. I thought you did a good job talking about the subject matter itself. But you got to sell it a little bit more, an occasional smile, a little bit of energy in the voice, some pride in an accomplishment, some envy in what people could do. Put some personality into the presentation, and I think it would help quite a bit. All right, thank you.